Did you know that in the annals of legal history, fewer than 5% of all grand larceny cases involving sums over $10 million ever result in the full recovery of stolen assets, leaving a gaping void where justice should have been served? This isn't just a statistic. It's a chilling testament to the audacity of greed and the silent, burning resolve of those who are left to pick up the shattered pieces. The wind, sharp and unforgiving, whipped around Elias as he stood on the rain-slicked rooftop of the old Thornco building. Below, the city sprawled, a glittering tapestry of ambition and anonymity. But Elias saw only the ghosts of his past reflected in the polished glass of the skyscrapers. They hadn't just stolen, they had annihilated, leaving Elias and his younger sister, Clara, orphaned and impoverished, adrift in a world that suddenly felt alien and hostile. His fingers, surprisingly steady, traced the cold steel of the railing. He remembered the smell of his father's office, the scent of old paper and new ideas, the hum of servers that powered their empire. He remembered his father's booming laughter, his mother's gentle touch, Clara's mischievous grin. All gone, swallowed by a corporate maneuver so swift and brutal, it left no witnesses, only victims. The legal battles that followed were a cruel joke, a rigged game where the Sterlings, with their bottomless pockets and labyrinthine connections, systematically dismantled every shred of evidence, every witness, every hope. Elias, then barely 20, watched helplessly as his family's multi-million-dollar patent for a groundbreaking quantum encryption algorithm, their life's work, was rebranded, repackaged, and presented to the world as Sterling's own. Tonight, however, was different. Tonight, the sterile air of the financial district hummed not with the whispers of forgotten tragedies, but with the silent promise of retribution. Elias was no longer the naive heir. He was a phantom, an architect of shadows. His eyes, the color of storm clouds, scanned the sprawling Sterling Tower, a monolithic monument to their ill-gotten gains. Its penthouse office, where old man Alistair Sterling currently resided, gleamed mockingly. This wasn't about money anymore, not entirely. It was about proving that the scales of justice, however slow, however bent, could still be balanced, meticulously, painfully, by the hands of those they had wronged. Down below, at street level, the city pulsed with life, indifferent to the intricate ballet of fate unfolding high above. Elias knew who they were, his team. Each a specialist, a broken piece of humanity, much like himself, united by a shared thirst for meticulous execution and a profound distrust of the establishment. There was Anya, a former state-sponsored hacker from the Eastern Bloc, her fingers capable of unraveling the most complex digital fortresses with the grace of a concert pianist. Then there was Marcus, an ex-Black Ops demolitions expert, a man whose quiet demeanor belied a mind that thought in blueprints of destruction and precision. And finally, Leo, the chameleon, a master of disguise and infiltration, whose face could shift like sand, becoming anyone, anywhere. He hadn't sought out criminals. He had sought out masters, artists of their craft, each possessing a unique skill essential for the Symphony of Chaos he intended to conduct. He had spent years meticulously researching the Sterling Corporation, not just their financial records, but their daily routines, their weaknesses, their arrogance. He had learned their patterns, their vulnerabilities, until their entire operation became a giant, intricate clockwork mechanism, waiting for the precise moment to be unraveled. His phone buzzed. A message from Anya. Green light, Eagle. Surveillance neutralized. Entry points confirmed. Elias nodded, a grim satisfaction settling deep in his bones. The first phase, infiltration, was always the most delicate. The Sterling Tower, a fortress of steel and glass, was renowned for its state-of-the-art security, a maze of cameras, motion sensors, and biometric scanners. But Anya had a knack for finding the cracks in even the most unyielding walls. She had spent months burrowing into their network, a ghost in the machine, manipulating their systems, creating false positives, and ultimately blinding them to their true threat. Elias descended from the rooftop, not via the service stairs, but through a hidden access panel he had discovered during his reconnaissance. He moved through the ventilation shafts like a shadow, the city's distant hum fading into a muffled thrum as he navigated the dark, dusty passages. His heart beat a steady rhythm, not of fear, but of anticipation. This wasn't a smash and grab. The goal wasn't just to take their money. It was to unravel their carefully constructed facade, to expose the rot beneath the gleaming surface, and to make the Sterlings pay, not just with their fortune, but with their reputation, their legacy, everything they held dear. He reached a maintenance access point on the 50th floor, just below the executive offices. The air was colder here, tinged with the sterile scent of polished marble and expensive cologne. Leo was already there, disguised as a night janitor, whistling a tuneless melody as he buffed an already gleaming floor. He gave a subtle nod, his eyes flickering towards a secure door. "Clear," Leo murmured, his voice a low rumble. "Cameras on a 30-second loop." Marcus, a silent sentinel, had already disarmed the magnetic lock, leaving behind a delicate web of wires, now inert. Inside, the corridor was dim, bathed in the muted glow of emergency lights. This was the executive wing, where the real power resided, where decisions were made that could crush lives with a stroke of a pen. Elias felt a familiar surge of cold anger, a fuel that had burned steadily within him for years. "Anya, you there?" Elias whispered into his comms. "Always, Eagle." Her voice, calm and detached, crackled in his ear. "I'm in their central server room. I have eyes on every floor, every camera, every guard patrol." "Marcus, the vault is on 55, correct?" "That's the main one, yes," Marcus replied, his voice gruff. "But there's a smaller, more secure one in Alistair Sterling's personal office on 60. That's where the real treasures are kept. The old man doesn't trust digital. He prefers tangible." Elias's lips curled into a thin smile. "Perfect. The more old-fashioned, the better for us. Our target is the quantum encryption algorithm patent. The original hard copies, the digital backups they tried to erase." While Elias and Marcus focused on the physical retrieval of the stolen documents and evidence, Anya would be busy planting a digital time bomb within Sterling Corp's network. This wasn't just about stealing back their property. It was about releasing a flood of incriminating data to the world, timed perfectly to coincide with the revelation of the stolen patent. They wouldn't just lose their assets, they would lose their credibility, their reputation, their entire dynasty. They moved quickly and silently, a well-oiled machine. Leo, with his uncanny ability to blend in, had already secured the stairwell, creating a clear path to the upper floors. Elias and Marcus ascended, their footsteps muffled by the thick carpet, their movements precise and economical. The building felt like a sleeping giant, unaware of the intruders crawling through its veins. On the 55th floor, they found the main vault, a colossal safe embedded into the wall, its steel door gleaming under the dim lights. Marcus knelt, his experienced fingers dancing over the intricate tumblers. He worked with the patience of a sculptor, listening, feeling, coaxing the ancient mechanism to yield its secrets. The soft clicks echoed in the silence, each one a step closer to their goal. Elias stood guard, his gaze sweeping the corridor, his senses heightened, every shadow a potential threat. "Got it," Marcus finally whispered, a soft click confirming his success. The heavy door swung open with a hydraulic sigh, revealing a cavernous space filled with shelves laden with ledgers, hard drives, and countless other items. They're running a routine system update on the central hub. It's buying us time, but we don't have forever. I estimate another 20 minutes before they flag an anomaly. Understood. Marcus, prioritize anything with Thorn Co. labeled on it. Look for original patents, research notes, financial discrepancies. We need irrefutable proof. They worked swiftly, pulling out file boxes, hard drives, and meticulously cataloging their findings with a small specialized camera. Elias felt a surge of recognition as he pulled out a faded blueprint, his father's distinctive handwriting scrawled in the corner. It was a preliminary design for the quantum encryption algorithm, dated years before Sterling Corp ever claimed it. The proof finally in his hands. As they gathered the evidence, Elias's mind drifted to Clara. His younger sister, now a brilliant but reclusive software engineer, had been just a child when their world imploded. He had shielded her from the worst of it, but the trauma had left its mark. Her faith in institutions and justice had been irrevocably shattered. He envisioned the moment when he would finally place these documents in her hands, and the truth would finally be undeniable. Their haul from the 55th floor was substantial. Marcus carefully repackaged everything into discreet, specially designed bags. "This is enough to bury them, Elias," he said, a rare hint of emotion in his voice. "But you said Alistair's personal office on 60 has the real treasures." "Indeed," Elias confirmed, his gaze hardening. "The patent itself might be on 55, but the leverage, the deep dark secrets that would truly dismantle their public image, those are with the patriarch. The dirty laundry, the skeletons in the closet he's kept hidden for decades. We need those." They ascended to the 60th floor, the executive penthouse. The ambiance here was different, more opulent, more imposing. Thick velvet curtains, antique mahogany, and hushed silence spoke of immense wealth and insulated power. Leo, now disguised as a high-ranking executive, was waiting by the elevator, discreetly wiping down a glass partition. He met Elias's eyes, a flicker of warning passing between them. "Change of plans, Eagle," Leo murmured, his voice strained. "Alistair Sterling is here. He's in his office. Came in late for a private meeting. He's not alone. His personal security detail is with him." Two men, ex-military, highly trained. Elias's blood ran cold. This was an unforeseen complication, a major deviation from their meticulous plan. Their intelligence had indicated Alistair Sterling would be at his private estate tonight. This sudden appearance could derail everything. He glanced at Marcus, who remained impassive, his hand hovering near his concealed weapon. "Anya, confirm Alistair Sterling's presence," Elias ordered, his voice barely a whisper. A moment of static, then Anya's voice laced with urgency. "Confirmed, Eagle. Unscheduled entry 20 minutes ago. His personal comms are encrypted, but I'm picking up multiple signals from his office. 2 bodyguards, as Leo reported, and a third unknown signal. A third signal. That meant a meeting. With whom? And about what?" The stakes had just exponentially increased. Direct confrontation was not an option. Their entire strategy hinged on stealth and surprise. "Leo, where are they?" Elias asked. "His office facing the city. Glass walls. The security guards are just outside the main door, but they're positioned so they can't see the inner sanctum. The smaller internal vault is inside his private study next to the fireplace. That's what Marcus is after." Leo indicated a heavy, dark wood door down the corridor. Elias quickly revised their strategy. "Anya, can you give me a visual on the interior of the office?" "Negative, Eagle. His private office has a localized jammer. It's a dead zone for surveillance. Old school, very effective. I can only confirm their presence, not their actions." "Understood." Elias took a deep breath, his mind racing. He looked at Marcus. "Can you get into that vault silently and without alerting anyone inside, even if they're right next to it?" Marcus's eyes, usually a flat gray, held a spark of grim determination. "If it's mechanical, yes. It will take time and absolute silence. But I'll need a distraction. A big one." Elias turned to Leo. "You're the chameleon. Can you create that distraction? Something to draw the bodyguards away, even for just a few minutes?" Leo nodded slowly. "I can, but it will mean exposing myself, potentially blowing my cover. And if it goes wrong, we're all compromised. It's a calculated risk we have to take, Elias said, his voice firm. We're too close to turn back. This isn't just about the money, Leo. This is about everything. Leo understood. He straightened his shoulders, adjusting his tie. Give me 5 minutes. I'll trigger the fire alarm on the floor above, then reroute the security feeds to show a false threat. It'll draw them up, but it won't last long. Sterling has his own dedicated security team. They'll be back down within 3 minutes, tops, once they realize it's a false alarm. 3 minutes is all we need, Elias confirmed. Marcus, you go straight for that vault. Don't waste a second. Anya, prepare for an emergency extraction if this goes south. And be ready to remotely trigger the data dump if we can't secure all the physical evidence. Anya's voice came through, steady despite the increased tension. Understood. Good luck, Eagle. You'll need it. Leo moved away, blending seamlessly into the opulent surroundings, disappearing towards the service elevator. Elias and Marcus positioned themselves near the dark wood door, their senses acutely tuned to the sounds filtering from Alistair Sterling's office. Muffled voices, the clink of ice in a glass. The air was thick with tension, a palpable hum of anticipation. Exactly 5 minutes later, a piercing, insistent siren tore through the silence of the executive floor. The fire alarm. Immediately, the muffled voices from Sterling's office ceased. Footsteps, heavy and urgent, sounded from behind the main door. 2 hulking figures, clearly ex-military, emerged, their faces etched with professional alarm. They spoke rapidly into their comms, their eyes scanning the corridor. False alarm, it's coming from 61, one of them barked into his comms. But protocol dictates investigation. Let's go. They pounded up the stairwell, their presence a fleeting shadow. Go, Elias hissed to Marcus. Marcus slipped through the door to Alistair Sterling's office, a silent wraith. Elias positioned himself at the main door, his back against the wall, listening intently. He could hear the faint murmur of voices from inside the office, indicating that Alistair Sterling and his unknown guest had not left. They were still there, oblivious to the breach. Marcus returned moments later, his face grim. The vault is biometrically sealed, Elias. Fingerprint and retina scan. It's a next-gen system. I can't bypass it without a live subject. A cold dread washed over Elias. This was the ultimate lock, a barrier they hadn't anticipated. His carefully constructed plan was now on the brink of collapse. He has an unknown guest. Can you use them? Too risky. And I don't know if their biometrics are linked to the vault, Marcus responded, his voice tight. We need Sterling himself, or someone in his immediate circle. And we have less than 2 minutes before those guards are back. Anya, any back door into a biometric system? Elias demanded, his voice low and urgent. Theoretically, yes. Anya's voice crackled, her usual calm now tinged with genuine strain. But it would require direct access to the biometric scanner itself, and several minutes of uninterrupted work. Time we don't have, Eagle. Elias's mind raced, 1,000 possibilities flashing through his brain, each one leading to a dead end. He could hear the distant sounds of the bodyguards returning, their heavy footsteps approaching. This was it, the moment of truth. He had to make a choice, and quickly. Marcus, prepare to secure the perimeter, Elias said, his voice quiet but resolute. We're going in. We take Sterling. He knew the risks. This was no longer a stealth mission. It was a kidnapping, and the consequences would be severe. Elias pulled a silenced tranquilizer gun from his concealed holster. It wasn't an ideal solution, but it was their only chance. The bodyguard's footsteps were almost at the top of the stairwell. Elias pushed open the heavy dark wood door to Sterling's office. The scene inside was a tableau of corporate power and quiet menace. Alistair Sterling, a man whose silver hair and tailored suit belied a predatory nature, sat behind an enormous mahogany desk, facing a woman whose back was to Elias. Her posture was elegant, her red hair a striking contrast to the muted tones of the office. She was speaking in a low, conspiratorial tone, a file open on the desk between them. The moment Elias entered, Alistair Sterling's eyes, as sharp and cold as shards of ice, snapped to him. Recognition, then a flash of pure, unadulterated shock crossed his face. You! He spat, pushing himself away from the desk. Thorn! How did you get in here? The woman turned, her face slowly revealing itself in the opulent light of the office. Elias felt the air leave his lungs, his hand freezing on the tranquilizer gun. His world, which he had so painstakingly rebuilt on the foundations of revenge, shattered in an instant. It was Clara, his sister. She stared at him, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and something else, something colder, more calculated. She wasn't a captive. She was sitting opposite Alistair Sterling, a collaborator, an architect of their shared room. The file between them bore the distinct, almost mocking emblem of the Sterling Corporation. Not a captive, but a participant. Not a victim, but an accomplice. The world tilted on its axis. Elias's breath hitched, the tranquilizer gun suddenly feeling like a dead weight in his hand, a prop in a play that had just violently rewritten its entire script. Clara? He whispered, the name a foreign, strangled sound on his lips, laced with an agony that transcended all the years of pain and planning. His vision blurred, not from tears, but from the sudden, disorienting collapse of his entire reality. The sister he had shielded, the innocent he sought to avenge, was sitting there, across from the very man who had orchestrated their family's destruction, as if they were business partners. Alistair Sterling, momentarily forgotten, let out a slow, cruel chuckle, a sound like grinding bones. Well, well, Thorn, what an unexpected family reunion. And here I thought you were just a common thief. His eyes, now gleeful, flickered between Elias and Clara, savoring the moment of profound betrayal. Or perhaps you're finally meeting the true architect of your demise. Clara said nothing, her gaze locked onto Elias, a tempest of emotions warring in her usually calm, intelligent eyes. Defiance, fear, a flicker of something that looked suspiciously like regret, quickly masked. Her red hair, so like their mother's, seemed to blaze in the opulent office light, a beacon of bewildering deception. Outside, the heavy thud of the bodyguard's returning footsteps reverberated, growing louder, closer. Time had run out. Elias's carefully constructed 3-minute window had just evaporated into a vortex of shock and disbelief. Marcus! Get out! Elias barked into his comms, his voice strained, though his eyes never left Clara. Extraction! Anya, trigger the remote data dump. But Anya's voice, when it came, was filled with a new, terrifying urgency. Eagle! Something's wrong! Completely locked out. A new advanced firewall. It just appeared. It's impossible, unless someone had been anticipating their move. Unless someone had been watching them from the inside. Alistair Sterling's smile widened, a predatory flash of teeth. Anya, dear? Yes, she's quite good, but not quite as good as our little Clara here, is she? Amazing what a decade of focused programming can achieve, isn't it? Especially when properly motivated. The words hit Elias like a physical blow. Clara, she was the unknown signal. The third person. She hadn't just been sitting there, she had been actively dismantling Anya's carefully laid digital traps, sealing them inside the Sterling Tower like rats. The office door burst open, and the two hulking bodyguards stormed in, weapons drawn, their faces grim and professional. They quickly assessed the situation. Elias, frozen in the doorway, a tranquilizer gun uselessly aimed at Sterling, and Clara, still seated, composed. Drop it, Thorn! One of them growled, his pistol aimed squarely at Elias's chest. Elias's mind was a frantic maelstrom. Every plan, every contingency, every assumption had been utterly demolished. He was exposed, compromised, and facing a betrayal that sliced deeper than any corporate espionage. Clara, why? He choked out, ignoring the armed guards, his voice raw. Clara finally spoke, her voice surprisingly steady, though brittle around the edges. Because, Elias, your revenge was always a suicide mission, and I found a better way. They took everything from us. They took everything from you, Clara countered, her eyes flashing with a pain Elias had never seen before. From our parents, but they offered me a future, a way out of your obsession, your decade-long delusion that justice could be found at the end of a gun or a hack. Outside, Marcus's desperate voice crackled in Elias's comms. Eagle! We're surrounded. Leo's gone silent. What the hell is happening? Anya's voice returned, strained and fragmented. They've locked down the entire building. Emergency protocols initiated. I'm trying to create an exit, but the system is fighting me. It's too powerful. It's like someone knew exactly what I was doing and built countermeasures for every step. Elias realized the horrifying truth. The routine system update Anya had reported, the one that had bought them time. That wasn't just a coincidence. That was a meticulously crafted trap designed by Clara to lure them in, to capture them, and to deliver Elias into Sterling's hands. Alistair Sterling stood up, walking around his desk with a triumphant smirk. You see, Elias, your sister is far more pragmatic than you. She understood the true value of her talents. She understood that loyalty, like software, can be rewritten, especially when the price is right. And the threat of losing the only family you have left, well, that's a powerful motivator, isn't it? Sterling gestured to a large holographic display embedded in the desk. On it, Elias could see real-time feeds of his team. Marcus, cornered in the 55th floor vault, surrounded by Sterling's private security. Leo, unmasked and subdued, being led down a service corridor, his usual bravado gone, replaced by a defeated slump. And Anya's signal, flickering, desperately trying to break through the new firewall. They were all caught, all because of Clara. The reality of the situation solidified around Elias, cold and unforgiving. He was utterly defeated, utterly alone. The rage that had fueled him for a decade now turned into a bitter ash in his mouth. He slowly lowered the tranquilizer gun, letting it clatter to the opulent marble floor. The bodyguards immediately moved in, roughly seizing his arms, twisting them behind his back. Good choice, Thorne, Sterling purred, walking closer, his eyes gleaming with satisfaction. Now, let's talk about that quantum encryption algorithm, the original patent, the one you just retrieved from my vault, and all the other little proofs you gathered. Hand them over. He motioned to one of the guards, who quickly located Marcus's abandoned bag in the corridor outside the office. The faded blueprint, his father's handwriting, the hard drives, all the evidence Elias had risked everything for, now laid bare, proof of his failure. Excellent, Sterling said, picking up the blueprint with a dismissive flick of his wrist. And the digital time bomb you planted, Anya's little surprise? Our Clara has already disarmed it. Quite elegantly, I might add. So no public humiliation for the Sterling Corporation today. After everything, what did he promise you? What could possibly be worth this? Clara finally met his gaze, and this time the facade cracked. A raw, profound sadness flickered in her eyes, quickly replaced by a brittle resolve. Freedom, Elias. From your ghosts, from the past, from this constant, consuming need for retribution that would have destroyed us both. Sterling offered me a chance to start over, to build something new, without the shadow of Thorn Co. hanging over us. He offered me peace. Peace? Elias scoffed, a hollow laugh escaping his lips. He destroys families, Clara. He revels in it. He's using you, just like he used us. No, Clara said, her voice rising in conviction. He offered me a place in his company, a chance to lead his RD department, to innovate, to create, without having to claw my way out of the wreckage you insisted on rebuilding piece by piece. He offered a future, Elias, not just an endless, self-destructive echo of the past. Alistair Sterling clapped his hands together softly. Enough sentimentality. Clara, if you would be so kind as to finish up the secure transfer of the quantum encryption algorithm. But then she turned to the holographic display, her fingers flying across the virtual keyboard, an unsettling efficiency in her movements. Elias watched in horror as the stolen patent, the last vestige of his family's legacy, was digitally transferred, rebranded, and secured within Sterling Corp's impenetrable network, effectively erasing any trace of Thorn Co.'s original ownership. So, Sterling turned back to Elias, his face now devoid of any pretense of cordiality. You sought to ruin me, to expose me, to take what is mine. A rather foolish endeavor, wouldn't you agree? Especially when your own blood is willing to sell you out for a better offer. He paused, savoring Elias's pain. What do we do with him, Clara? Your brother. And a loose end. He knows too much about my involvement and about everything. Elias felt a cold dread settle in his stomach. Clara, you wouldn't. I have to, Elias, she said, finally looking at him, her eyes hardened. To protect my future. To protect the only stability I've found in a decade. You left me with nothing but your revenge, and I chose my own path. You should have understood that. Sterling smiled, a chilling, triumphant grin. Very astute, Clara. Very logical. No sentiment, just pure, unadulterated pragmatism. A true Sterling, in all but name. He leaned closer to Elias, his voice dropping to a low, venomous hiss. You see, Thorn, true power isn't about grand gestures or stolen patents. It's about control, and I control everything, even your family. And now, you, he snapped his fingers. Take him and the others to the sub-level archives. We'll decide their ultimate fate later. For now, they're assets, liabilities, whatever you want to call them. Just make sure they don't cause any more trouble. The bodyguards roughly dragged Elias out of the office. His last glimpse of Clara was of her returning to her seat, her back to him, as if he had never been there. The air, thick with the scent of betrayal, seemed to cling to him as he was forced down a secluded service elevator. The sub-level archives were a labyrinth of forgotten corridors, dust-laden shelves, and flickering fluorescent lights. It was a stark contrast to the gleaming opulence above. He was thrown unceremoniously into a small windowless room, its concrete walls bare and unforgiving. Marcus and Leo were already there, bruised and disheveled, but alive. Anya, however, was nowhere to be seen. Anya? Elias gasped, his voice hoarse, surveying their makeshift prison. They separated her, Marcus grunted, rubbing his jaw. Probably for interrogation. They know what she can do, and they know she knows too much about their systems. Your sister did a number on us, Elias. She wasn't just working for Sterling, she was running the counter-op. Leo, normally so composed, slumped against the wall, defeated. She knew our every move, every contingency, every back door, every hidden channel. She used your own blueprint against you, Eagle. She even knew about the fire alarm trick. That wasn't a distraction, it was a trap to expose me. The full magnitude of Clara's betrayal crashed over Elias once more. She hadn't just changed sides, she had meticulously planned their downfall, using her intimate knowledge of Elias's strategies and his team's capabilities. She had played them all, a master manipulator hidden behind the guise of a quiet, traumatized sister. She built the new firewall, Elias murmured, remembering Anya's frantic report. She jammed the comms. She knew the biometrics. Yeah, Marcus said, spitting on the floor. She really stuck the knife in, didn't she? What now, boss? We're dead in the water. No comms, no backup, no way out. Elias closed his eyes, taking a deep, shuddering breath. The fire of revenge that had burned so fiercely for a decade was now extinguished, replaced by an icy, paralyzing despair. Not only had he failed, but he had been undone by the one person he had sought to protect, the one person he believed was untainted by the Sterling's avarice. Suddenly, a faint, almost imperceptible buzzing sound came from Elias's concealed inner pocket. It was his personal, encrypted burner phone, a device he had designed himself, completely off-grid, never connected to any network, used only for prearranged critical dead-drop messages. No one, not even Anya, knew about its true capabilities, and it was vibrating. He fumbled for it, his fingers clumsy. The screen was dark, but a single cryptic message flashed. They will break you. They will try to rewrite your code, but some algorithms are uncorruptible. You planted a seed, it will bloom. The Oracle. The Oracle. Elias's mind flashed back to Anya's words. Think of me as your personal oracle. But she was gone. Trapped, or was she? The message was too precise, too personal, too specific to their internal team language. He looked at Marcus and Leo, a spark igniting in his storm cloud eyes. Anya isn't as easily caught as they think. She must have had a failsafe, a ghost protocol. This phone, it's completely offline, untraceable. She must have found a way to bridge the gap, to send a message through an isolated channel, maybe even before Clara locked her out completely. But what does it mean? Leo asked, his voice still tinged with hopelessness. A seed? A bloom? The digital time bomb, Elias said, a slow, dawning realization washing over him. She said she was disarming it, but what if she wasn't? What if she just changed its parameters? Delayed it? Made it more insidious? Some algorithms are uncorruptible. That means the core of what we planted is still there, waiting. We planted a seed. It will bloom. The data dump isn't canceled, it's just dormant, waiting for the right trigger. A trigger only Anya would know how to activate, even if she's captured. Hope, fragile but persistent, began to flicker in the dim confines of their prison. Clara had built an impressive digital fortress, but Anya was a phantom. She thought in layers, in redundancies, in the ultimate failsafe. This message was a lifeline. It meant Anya wasn't broken. It meant the fight wasn't over. "We need to get out of here," Elias said, his voice regaining its steel. "And we need to find Anya. If she sent this, she's still in play, and she's still fighting." Marcus looked around the cold, concrete room. "Easier said than done, boss. This place is a tomb. No windows, steel door, reinforced walls. And I imagine they have guards patrolling." "They underestimated us, Marcus," Elias countered, his eyes now blazing with a renewed resolve. "They think we're defeated. They think they've won. But they don't know Anya. And they certainly don't know the full extent of my own contingency planning." He paused, a grim smile touching his lips. "Remember the Thorn Co. building, Marcus? My old family office? The rooftop access? The ventilation shafts? I learned that every building, no matter how secure, has its secrets, its blind spots, its forgotten pathways. And this building, it was designed by the same architects as the old Thorn Co. Tower. They often recycle designs, patterns." "Are you saying?" Leo began, a glint of his old cunning returning to his eyes. "I'm saying," Elias finished, "that if I know this building, Anya knows it even better. She's been burrowing into their systems for months. She would have seen the design flaws, the shared infrastructure, and she would have identified the escape routes that no one else would ever consider." He pulled a thin, metallic card from his boot, barely thicker than a credit card. It was a highly specialized, multi-frequency universal keycard bypass. "This isn't for the standard Sterling security. This is for the subcontracted security systems. The ones installed by third parties, perhaps for maintenance access, decades ago. The ones they wouldn't have bothered to upgrade or integrate into their new, state-of-the-art system. A ghost in their own machine left behind from an earlier era." Marcus and Leo exchanged glances, a spark of hope replacing the despair. Elias, though betrayed and broken, was still Elias. He still had a plan. "So what's the plan, Eagle?" Marcus asked, pulling himself up. "How do we get out of this concrete coffin?" Elias knelt, tracing an invisible diagram on the dusty floor. "This room, if my estimations are correct, is likely situated near the building's original deep-level maintenance tunnels. These tunnels predate the Sterling Corporation's occupation, possibly even the building itself, dating back to the city's early infrastructure. They're probably forgotten, unmonitored, a perfect shadow network. If we can reach them, we can disappear." He examined the reinforced steel door, then ran his hand along the wall. "But first, we need a way out of here. And a distraction. They won't expect us to move so soon, especially not after what Clara pulled." "A distraction, how?" Leo asked, his mind already spinning. "Something disruptive enough to pull their attention, but not so damaging that it locks down the entire sublevels," Elias explained. "A localized, low-level emergency. Something to make them spread out, investigate, and open a small window for us." He looked at Marcus. "You're the demolition expert." "Or the old electrical conduits running through these walls. I could short something out, cause a localized blackout, trip a few alarms. It wouldn't last long, but it would be enough to create some chaos." "Good," Elias confirmed. "But we need to find the access point. Most of these rooms have a hidden panel for utility maintenance. It's usually behind a loose tile or a non-load-bearing section of the wall. We're looking for an older, unmodernized section." They began to meticulously inspect their prison, tapping on walls, feeling for imperfections, listening for hollow sounds. The guards outside were oblivious, their heavy footsteps occasionally passing by, reinforcing the sense of their entrapment. After several tense minutes, Leo, with his uncanny eye for detail, pointed to a section of the wall behind a rarely used shelf. "Here," he whispered. "The plaster sounds different, and there's a faint seam here, almost invisible. Older craftsmanship, Elias, like you're remembered from the Thornco blueprints." "This is it, a relic from a different era." He pulled out a specialized pry tool from a hidden compartment in his belt, a tool so thin it vanished between his fingers. With a soft, almost inaudible click, a section of the wall, roughly 2 feet by 3, swung inward, revealing a cramped, dark cavity filled with dust-laden conduits and thick, insulated wiring. The air inside was stale, metallic. "Marcus," Elias whispered, gesturing to the opening, "your stage." Marcus, with his usual economy of motion, knelt and peered into the cavity. His eyes, accustomed to darkness, quickly identified the intricate web of older electrical systems. "This is perfect. Give me 5 minutes. I'll short out a few key circuits, reroute some power, create a localized surge. It'll trip the alarms on this sub-level section, probably cause a temporary power flicker in a few adjacent areas, but nothing that would lock down the entire building. Just enough to send their security scrambling." "And the door?" Leo asked, indicating their reinforced steel prison door. "That's where this comes in," Elias said, producing the thin metallic card. "This bypasses the old magnetic locking mechanism. It won't work on Sterling's new advanced system, but this sublevel is an afterthought, a relic." It's a single standard frequency. Marcus worked swiftly, his hands moving with surgical precision amidst the tangle of wires. The faint smell of ozone began to permeate the air. Elias and Leo stood ready, their ears strained for any sound from the corridor. The tension in the small room was palpable, a coiled spring waiting to release. Precisely 5 minutes later, a dull thud echoed from within the cavity, followed by a faint shower of sparks. Immediately, a shrill, pulsing alarm blared through the concrete walls of their prison. The lights in their room flickered violently, then settled into a dimmer, emergency glow. "That's our cue," Marcus grunted, retracting his hand. "Local power surge, alarms trip, a few lights out. They'll send a small patrol down to investigate. They won't expect us to be moving this fast." Elias inserted the metallic card into a barely visible slot near the door's frame. With a soft thunk, the magnetic lock disengaged. He pulled the door open just enough to peer into the corridor. It was empty, but the distant sound of hurried footsteps and shouted orders confirmed Marcus's assessment. "Go," Elias ordered, ushering Marcus and Leo out. "Head for the maintenance tunnels. They're directly below us, accessible through an old, hidden service shaft in the utility room down this corridor. It's unmarked behind a dummy fuse box. I marked it in my original reconnaissance. We need to move fast." They moved like ghosts through the dimly lit corridor, the blare of the localized alarms creating a cacophony that masked their movements. Elias led the way, his memory of the Sterling Tower's forgotten blueprints guiding him through the labyrinthine sublevels. They passed several archive rooms, all identical, dusty and silent. Finally, they reached a nondescript utility room, filled with ancient pipes and humming electrical boxes. Elias located the dummy fuse box, its metal faded and rusted. With a grunt, he pulled it open, revealing not electrical components, but a dark, narrow shaft descending into darkness. "Down here," Elias whispered. "This leads to the deep-level maintenance tunnels. They connect to the city's old underground network." "Untraceable." Leo, ever the pragmatist, nodded. "Good. We need to get off-grid completely. If Clara is as deep as she seems, she'll have eyes and ears everywhere." Marcus was already lowering himself into the shaft, his powerful frame barely squeezing through the opening. Elias followed, the metallic card still clutched in his hand. The air in the maintenance tunnels was cool and damp, heavy with the scent of earth and old concrete. The tunnel was wide enough for them to walk abreast, its walls lined with massive, archaic pipes that pulsed with a faint, rhythmic hum. These were the true veins of the city, hidden from the gleaming towers above. "The Oracle's message," Leo said, his voice echoing in the tunnel. What did it mean about a seed blooming? A trigger? Elias's mind was already racing, piecing together the fragmented clues. Anya wouldn't have simply disarmed the data dump. She knew our objective. If Clara built a countermeasure, Anya would have built a countermeasure. A failsafe within a failsafe. "So the data dump is still active?" Marcus asked, a flicker of renewed hope in his eyes. "Dormant," Elias corrected. "Waiting." The Oracle message was a warning, but also a message of hope. Some algorithms are uncorruptible. The core of what Anya planted, the truth about Sterling's corporate espionage about Thorn Co., it's still there. But it needs a trigger, and that trigger, it has to be external. Something Anya could activate even if she's under duress, or even if her systems are completely locked out. He pulled out the burner phone again, its screen still dark, its single message burned into his memory. "They will break you. They will try to rewrite your code. But some algorithms are uncorruptible. You planted a seed, it will bloom." The Oracle. The Oracle refers to Anya, Leo mused. "But the message is for you, Elias. You planted a seed. What seed did you plant?" Elias frowned, casting his mind back over the years of planning in meticulous detail, every contingency. The primary data dump was designed to coincide with the retrieval of the physical patents. It would expose the digital evidence and the hard copies simultaneously. "But that's compromised now," Marcus interjected. "Clara secured the hard copies for Sterling, and she locked down the network." "Yes," Elias agreed. "But what if Anya knew that was a possibility? What if she foresaw a betrayal? She always pushed for ultimate redundancy. She would never rely on a single point of failure. Some algorithms are uncorruptible. That implies the core data itself, the proof, is still intact, shielded from Clara's interference. But how would it activate without Anya's direct access? He thought of Anya's unparalleled skill, her almost supernatural ability to manipulate digital landscapes. He thought of her warnings, her contingency plans, her insistence on extreme measures. "The source code," Elias murmured, a sudden chilling realization dawning on him. "My quantum encryption algorithm. The original patent, the one Sterling stole and rebranded." Anya didn't just plan to expose their theft. She planned to expose the source of the theft. The very code itself. She embedded a kill switch into Sterling's own version of the quantum encryption. If certain parameters are met, if certain conditions are violated, the algorithm could essentially self-destruct, exposing its stolen origins. "Self-destruct?" Leo repeated, his eyes widening. "You mean the algorithm they're using right now, the one they claim as their own, could reveal itself to be stolen goods?" "Exactly," Elias said, his voice gaining strength. "Anya wouldn't just copy the code. She would analyze it, dissect it, identify its vulnerabilities, and then she would exploit them. She would embed a trigger dormant until activated." A mathematical prime, a specific string of code that acts as a digital fingerprint. My father designed it to only be truly stable and efficient under specific ethical parameters. Any deviation, any attempt to corrupt its integrity for nefarious purposes would trigger a systemic failure. "So what's a nefarious purpose?" Leo pressed. Elias's gaze hardened. "The global financial market. Sterling Corp has been integrating the stolen quantum encryption into their high-frequency trading platforms, their secure data transfers for multinational clients. If that algorithm were to suddenly reveal its instability, its stolen origin, in the middle of a critical transaction, the ripple effect would be catastrophic. Not just for Sterling, but potentially for the entire market. It would expose every client, every transaction, every secret they ever thought was secure. A cold sweat broke out on Elias's forehead. This was far more dangerous than he had ever intended. He wanted to expose Sterling, not crash the global economy. But Anya, in her genius, had built the ultimate deterrent, the ultimate form of retribution. But still, how does Anya activate it? Marcus asked, his voice low. If she's locked out, if she's being interrogated, how can she possibly interact with a dormant algorithm? Elias closed his eyes, concentrating, replaying every interaction with Anya, every obscure technical discussion. The Oracle message: they will break you. They will try to rewrite your code. That means she's being forced to work for them, or they're trying to extract information from her. But some algorithms are uncorruptible. Anya herself is the ultimate uncorruptible algorithm. She wouldn't betray her true intent. What if, Leo ventured, the trigger isn't something she does, but something she doesn't do, or something they force her to do, which then backfires? Elias's eyes snapped open. Yes, that's it. Anya often spoke of reverse logic traps, a sequence designed to activate only when an attempt is made to neutralize it or to misuse it. If Sterling is forcing her to secure their stolen quantum encryption, to integrate it further, to improve its performance, that very act could be the trigger. The seed blooming, the moment they think they've consolidated their theft, they actually activate its destruction. So if they're interrogating her, forcing her to work for them, to enhance their system, Marcus trailed off, the implications chilling. Then she's not just caught, Elias finished. She's an active weapon, a Trojan horse. Every keystroke she's forced to make, every line of code she's compelled to write, is bringing them closer to their own destruction. And she's giving us a timeline. It will bloom. Not I will activate it, but it will bloom. It's an autonomous process, once certain parameters are met. The gravity of Anya's ingenuity and her terrifying foresight settled over them. Clara's betrayal, while devastating, had inadvertently played right into Anya's ultimate failsafe. But also to allow this seed to bloom, to ensure Sterling's pride is his undoing. Precisely, Elias confirmed. But we can't just wait. We need to be ready to amplify the chaos, to ensure the world sees the truth when it breaks. And we need to protect Anya. If they realize what she's doing or what she has done, they'll eliminate her. They continued through the tunnels, their path illuminated only by the faint glow of Elias's burner phone. The tunnel system eventually connected to a series of abandoned subway lines, long disused and filled with stagnant water. Their boots splashed softly through the murky depths. We need a way to reach the surface, and quickly, Marcus observed. And we're going to need resources. Safe houses, new identities, communications. The old Thornco research lab, Elias said, a nostalgic pang in his chest. It's been abandoned for years, but I still own the shell corporation that holds the deed. The city thinks it's a derelict warehouse, but inside it's my old workspace. My father's archives, my own hidden servers, a secure comms hub. My first true contingency. Smart, Leo commented. A place they wouldn't even think to look. Not after they destroyed Thornco. They'd assume you'd have nothing left. They assumed wrong, Elias replied, a grim smile touching his lips. It's about 2 miles from here, through this network. We can surface near the old industrial district, blend in. From there we regroup. We find Anya, and we prepare for the bloom. Their journey through the dark, subterranean world was long and arduous. They navigated forgotten turnstiles, climbed crumbling service ladders, and traversed damp, rat-infested passages. But with each step, the despair that had gripped Elias began to recede, replaced by a cold, calculating resolve. Clara's betrayal had been a brutal blow, but it had also clarified his purpose. This was no longer just about revenge. It was about exposing a dangerous, unchecked power and protecting the innocent, even if that meant sacrificing his own emotional recovery. The pre-dawn sky was a bruised purple, the city just beginning to stir. They were free, but far from safe. "Okay," Elias said, brushing dust from his clothes, his eyes scanning the empty street. "From here, we split up. Leo, you're the master of disappearing. Find a way to the lab. Use pre-arranged dead drops, burner phones, whatever it takes. Get the systems online. Marcus, you need to acquire new supplies. Cash, clean vehicles, anything we need to go completely dark. I'll head straight for the lab, get our comms up and running. We need to find Anya, and we need to monitor Sterling Corp's network for any sign of the bloom." "What about Clara?" Marcus asked, his voice softer, recognizing the pain in Elias's eyes. Elias clenched his jaw. "Clara is a complication. A painful one, but right now she's a part of Sterling. And if she stands in our way, she will be treated as such." The words felt like ash in his mouth, but he knew he had to be ruthless. His mission now was bigger than his personal agony. Leo nodded, already moving with a renewed sense of purpose. "Consider it done. I'll make sure they don't even know we're gone until it's too late." He melted into the shadows of the alley, a phantom once more. Marcus, ever practical, clapped Elias on the shoulder. "We'll get her back, boss, and we'll make them pay." Elias was left alone in the cold dawn, the towering silhouette of the Sterling Tower mocking him in the distance. He started walking, his steps firm, his mind already formulating the next phase of his operation. The game had changed, the rules rewritten by Betrayal, but Elias Thorne was not out of moves. He was just beginning. Days later, the old Thornco research lab, a relic of a bygone era, hummed back to life. Elias had spent grueling hours reactivating its dormant systems, his fingers flying across keyboards, the familiar scent of his father's old lab equipment filling the air. The lab was a stark contrast to Sterling's opulent tower. Grimy concrete floors, exposed conduit pipes, and shelves overflowing with discarded prototypes and yellowing schematics. But beneath the dust and decay, Elias had built a fully functional, self-contained operations center. Its servers, powered by an independent solar array and geothermal backup, were isolated from any external networks, making them impervious to Sterling's digital reach. Leo arrived first, a new set of clothes and a confident swagger replacing his earlier defeated posture. He'd acquired new burner phones, untraceable cash, and even a beat-up, unregistered delivery van. "Clean as a whistle, Eagle," he reported, dropping a duffel bag onto a workbench. "They're still scrambling, trying to figure out how we escape the sublevels. They've tightened security across the entire building, but they're chasing ghosts." Soon after, Marcus arrived, laden with survival gear, a small arsenal of non-lethal equipment, and a detailed map of the city's forgotten infrastructure. "No sign of Anya," he said grimly, "but I've got eyes on every major Sterling facility. No unusual movement. It's like she just vanished." "She didn't vanish," Elias corrected, his gaze fixed on a complex network diagram projected onto the lab's main screen. "She's a ghost in the machine, remember? And right now, she's probably being coerced into strengthening Sterling's system. Every hour that passes, she's either buying us time or bringing them closer to the bloom." His current focus was on re-establishing a secure, encrypted link to the periphery of Sterling Corp's digital network. Not to infiltrate, but to listen. Something that would look like a correction or an improvement, but actually amplifies the flaw. A Trojan within a Trojan. Exactly, Elias confirmed. Anya wouldn't leave a glaring back door. She'd create a self-corrupting loop, triggered by specific, self-serving actions on Sterling's part. The more they try to solidify their claim on the quantum encryption, the more they embed its destruction. For days, they worked in a grim, focused silence. Elias monitored the digital currents, Marcus meticulously planned escape routes and contingency extractions for Anya, and Leo moved through the city gathering intelligence, a master of information acquisition. Then, one evening, as the city lights twinkled in the distance, a faint anomaly appeared on Elias's monitoring systems. A ripple, almost imperceptible within Sterling Corp's highly secure network traffic. It wasn't an attack, it was a change. A sudden, inexplicable increase in processing power being directed towards a specific sector, Sterling's high-frequency trading division. "There!" Elias exclaimed, pointing at the screen. Anya was right. They're ramping up the quantum encryption. They're pushing it to its limits, probably for a massive, high-stakes market play. This is it. This is the bloom. The faint anomaly escalated into a discernible tremor, then a cascade of red flags painting Elias's monitors. The quantum encryption algorithm, the very heart of Sterling's ill-gotten empire, was experiencing micro-fluctuations, minute inconsistencies that would be invisible to anyone but a true architect of its design, or the one who had meticulously engineered its inevitable collapse. "It's like watching a heart attack in slow motion," Leo muttered, his eyes glued to the data stream. "They think they're injecting more life, more power, but they're just accelerating its demise." "Anya!" Elias breathed, a profound mix of awe and dread washing over him. She knew exactly how they would try to exploit it. She turned their avarice into their undoing. "What's the timeline, Eagle?" Marcus asked, his hand instinctively going to the hilt of his concealed knife. "How long before it blows?" Elias's fingers flew across the keyboard, analyzing the logarithmic progression of the algorithm's self-corruption. "It's not an explosion, Marcus. It's a systemic unraveling, a digital implosion. It's designed to expose its stolen origins, not just fail. If my calculations are correct, within the next 48 hours, as Sterling Corp pushes it through another major financial transaction, the internal integrity will fail. The source code will scream theft across every secure network it touches." To prepare, to maximize the impact, but also to prepare for their retaliation. "Their retaliation will be swift and brutal," Elias confirmed, his jaw tight. "Especially once they realize Anya isn't just a captive, she's their executioner. They'll try to silence her. That means we have to find her. Before they do." He turned to a holographic map of Sterling Corp's properties, highlighting dozens of data centers, executive estates, and covert facilities. Anya wouldn't be in a standard holding cell. They would need her expertise, her mind. They'd have her in an isolated, secure RD lab, trying to force her to fix what she's designed to break. Or perhaps, in a place where they think she can't communicate. "Clara," Marcus interjected, the name a raw wound in the room. "She's probably the one overseeing Anya's re-education. She knows Anya's capabilities. She'd be the best one to contain her or to exploit her." Elias nodded, the pain of Clara's betrayal still a dull ache beneath his resolve. "Which means Anya is likely in one of Sterling's most secure, most secretive facilities. Probably one connected directly to their primary network, a place where Clara would be comfortable working." He zoomed in on a cluster of red dots on the map, representing Sterling's cutting-edge RD centers. One location stood out, a recently acquired, highly secretive facility disguised as an agricultural research lab on the outskirts of the city, known only to a select few. It was designed to house sensitive projects away from prying eyes, with its own dedicated power grid and deep-level bunkers. "The Kronos Project Facility," Elias murmured, remembering a cryptic report Anya had once unearthed. "Sterling's pet project, developing next-gen AI and quantum computing. A perfect place for Anya. And for Clara." "What's the security like?" Leo asked, already devising infiltration routes. "Off the charts," Elias replied, pulling up satellite imagery and schematics he'd painstakingly acquired over the years. Biometric, laser grids, motion sensors, armed patrols, air defenses, a self-contained fortress. Even Anya would struggle to get in and out undetected, let alone communicate. "Which is why she needs us," Marcus stated, a grim determination in his eyes. "And why she sent that message. She activated the bloom. Now we activate her extraction." Their next 48 hours were a whirlwind of meticulous planning. Elias, using the lab's isolated network, began to prepare a counterstrike, a series of data packets designed to amplify the coming chaos to ensure the bloom reached every corner of the global financial market. Marcus, with his intimate knowledge of tactical infiltration, studied the Kronos facility's layout, identifying weak points, blind spots, and potential entry-exit strategies. Leo, meanwhile, was tasked with acquiring everything they would need: specialized gear, vehicles, and diversionary tactics, all while remaining completely off Sterling's radar. The plan was audacious, bordering on suicidal. They would hit the Kronos facility during the projected peak of the quantum algorithm's self-corruption, using the ensuing global market instability as their ultimate cover. The chaos would be so widespread, so unprecedented, that Sterling's resources would be stretched thin, their focus diverted. It was a gamble, but it was their only shot. 2 days later, the world held its breath. Stock markets flickered nervously. News anchors spoke in hushed, urgent tones about an unprecedented digital anomaly affecting global financial transactions. Sterling Corp, once lauded for its impenetrable security, was at the epicenter. Deep within the Kronos Project facility, Anya sat strapped into a high-tech neuro-interface chair, a halo of wires connecting her brain to a vast network of supercomputers. Her eyes, usually sharp and focused, were weary, but a defiant glint remained. Opposite her, Clara, her face pale with exhaustion and a new, steely resolve, stared intently at a holographic display, overseeing a team of Sterling's top engineers. "The firewall is holding, Director Thorne," one engineer reported nervously, "but the internal instability of the quantum algorithm is accelerating. We're patching the redundancies, but it's like trying to patch a collapsing dam." "It's not enough," Clara snapped, her voice tight with suppressed panic. "Every core function is being degraded. Every secure transaction is flashing compromised. This is an attack from within the algorithm itself." "How?" She glanced at Anya, whose lips were curled into a faint, knowing smile. "What have you done, Anya? What did you build into it?" Anya just looked at her, her silence more damning than any accusation. Alistair Sterling, his face a mask of furious disbelief, stormed into the lab. "What in God's name is happening, Clara?" "My stock just plummeted 50 points. International banks are demanding answers." She created a self-destruct mechanism within the quantum algorithm itself. It's designed to activate if the code is misused or if someone tries to override its core principles. "And you let her do this?" Sterling roared, his face turning purple with rage. "You were supposed to neutralize her." But every step I took to fix it, to integrate it deeper, it only accelerated the collapse. She built it to interpret our attempts to control it as the ultimate misuse. Red emergency lights pulsed to life. "Intruder alert! Perimeter breach, Sector Gamma." An automated voice blared through the intercom. Sterling's eyes snapped to Clara. "Your brother. He's here. He orchestrated this, didn't he?" "This whole market collapse is a diversion. He's coming for her." "My brother is a fool," Clara whispered, but a flicker of fear and something akin to desperation flashed in her eyes. "He wouldn't abandon me. Not here." Outside the Kronos facility, Elias, Marcus, and Leo moved with precision through the swirling chaos. Smoke billowed from a diversionary fire Marcus had set in a nearby utility depot, drawing half of Sterling's security detail away. Leo, meanwhile, had used his unparalleled skills to bypass the outer perimeter's laser grid, creating a narrow window of entry. Anya's message was a beacon, a challenge, Elias said into his comms, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. "The market collapse is our cloak. We go in hard, we get her out, and we disappear." They breached the main gate, moving like shadows through the frantic, understaffed security patrols. The sound of distant gunfire from the utility depot confirmed their diversion was working. Inside the sterile corridors, the facility was a maze of advanced technology, but Elias had studied the blueprints for years, anticipating this moment. Anya is in the central RD lab, sub-level 2, Elias relayed, his gaze fixed on a real-time schematic of the building on his wrist-mounted device. Clara is there, with Sterling. Marcus, you secure the perimeter of the lab. Keep their security focused on you. Leo, you're with me. We're going in fast. As they descended into the sublevels, the air grew thick with the hum of powerful servers and the frantic shouting of engineers. They reached the RD lab. Marcus peeled off, his movements fluid and deadly efficient, engaging the approaching security teams in the corridor, a whirlwind of precise, non-lethal takedowns. The sounds of impact and grunts echoed as he systematically neutralized the guards, creating a protective barrier for Elias and Leo. Elias and Leo burst into the lab. The scene was even more chaotic than Elias had imagined. Engineers were frantically tapping at keyboards, Alistair Sterling was bellowing orders, and Clara stood frozen, staring at Anya, whose eyes were now closed, a serene expression on her face, oblivious to the unfolding pandemonium. "Anya!" Elias shouted, rushing towards her. Sterling, seeing Elias, let out a guttural roar. "Thorn, you bastard! You've ruined me!" He lunged, a concealed blade glinting in his hand. Leo, a blur of motion, intercepted Sterling, disarming him with a swift, brutal strike to the wrist. Sterling crumpled, screaming in pain, his face contorted with fury. Clara, however, stepped between Elias and Anya, her eyes wide, a small laser pistol now clutched in her hand. "Stop, Elias. You don't understand. She's destroying everything. All the progress, all the work we did to secure Sterling, to build a new future. She's destroying Sterling's lie, Clara." Elias countered, his voice raw with the pain of her betrayal. "She's exposing the truth. What did he promise you that was worth this? Worth destroying everything we ever stood for?" "He offered me control, Elias," Clara cried, her voice cracking. "He offered me a seat at the table, a chance to innovate, to build something lasting. Your revenge was just tearing down the past. I wanted to build a future. By enabling the man who murdered our family's legacy?" Elias spat, gesturing to Sterling, who was now being subdued by Leo. "By becoming another cog in his machine of corruption? That's not building, Clara, that's capitulation." Just then, a wave of digital feedback ripped through the lab. All the screens flickered wildly, displaying a single stark message in brilliant green text. "Thorn Co. Quantum encryption algorithm stolen. Initiating core source code exposure. Sterling Corporation, fraudulent." The words flashed repeatedly, superimposed over images of Thorn Co.'s original patents, Elias's father's handwriting unmistakable. Simultaneously, a deafening alarm blared through the building, originating from the Sterling Corp servers themselves. This wasn't just a local alarm, it was a global siren, signaling a catastrophic digital breach. Anya's eyes snapped open, a brilliant, triumphant light shining within them. "It's done, Eagle," she whispered, a faint smile gracing her lips. "The bloom, it's beautiful, isn't it?" Clara stared at the screens, her laser pistol lowering, her face a mask of horror. No, it's impossible. I secured it! I patched every vulnerability." "You tried to force a square peg into a round hole, Clara," Anya said, her voice stronger now, laced with a quiet satisfaction. "My failsafe wasn't a vulnerability. It was the core integrity of the algorithm itself. Any attempt to fundamentally alter its ethical parameters, to corrupt it for unchecked financial gain, was programmed to trigger its public unraveling. You tried to make it more Sterling, and in doing so, you made it more Thorn." Outside the lab, Marcus continued his relentless fight, but the sheer number of Sterling's security forces was beginning to overwhelm him. "Eagle, we're running out of time. More coming in from sub-level 1. We need to move." "Anya, can you walk?" Elias asked, quickly unstrapping her from the chair. "Give me a minute," she said, wincing as she stretched her cramped limbs. "My head is still a bit fuzzy from the neural interface." Clara, still reeling from the digital catastrophe unfolding before her eyes, suddenly noticed Sterling, now groaning and struggling against Leo's hold. A flicker of something, fear for her future perhaps, or a desperate need to salvage her new path, ignited in her eyes. She raised her laser pistol again, aiming not at Elias but at Anya. "You ruined everything," Clara screamed, her voice choked with anguish and fury. My chance at a new life. My peace! Clara, no! Elias yelled, stepping in front of Anya, shielding her. But before Clara could fire, a massive explosion ripped through the ceiling above them. Debris rained down, dust filled the air, and the lights flickered and died, plunging the lab into near darkness, illuminated only by the frantic flashing of emergency lights. The structural charge! Marcus's voice roared over the comms, filled with renewed urgency. I told you it would only buy us a few minutes. The blast wasn't from Marcus's diversion. It was from above, a controlled demolition, strategically placed. It wasn't designed to destroy the building, but to seal off their escape. They're trying to trap us, Leo yelled, wrestling Sterling to the ground as more debris fell. A voice, cold and detached, echoed from the now gaping hole in the ceiling. A valiant effort, Elias, but you overestimated your sister's loyalty and underestimated our contingency plan. Through the dust and smoke, a figure descended on a tactical rappel line. It was an impeccably dressed woman, her face sharp and intelligent, her eyes like chips of obsidian. She was surrounded by a team of highly trained, black-clad operatives. Director Evelyn Hayes, Sterling choked out, looking up at the woman, a mixture of fear and relief on his face. Thank God you're here. They've destroyed everything. Elias recognized the name. Evelyn Hayes, Sterling's head of corporate espionage, a legend in the shadows, known for her ruthless efficiency and her network of deep-cover operatives. She was the architect behind Sterling's most illicit corporate acquisitions, the hidden hand that dismantled Thorn Co. all those years ago. He should have known Sterling wouldn't leave his fate in the hands of a compromised genius like Clara. Hardly destroyed, Alistair, Evelyn said, her voice cutting through the chaos. A momentary setback. The algorithm's instability has been contained. Clara's efforts, though misguided, bought us time to implement our ultimate countermeasure. She looked at Clara, a hint of disdain in her eyes. You performed admirably for a raw talent, but ultimately, you were a loose end. A sentimental weakness. Sterling Corp doesn't tolerate weaknesses. Clara stared at Evelyn, her face crumpling in dawning horror. What? What are you talking about? The unraveling was anticipated, Thorn, Evelyn continued, ignoring Clara. Anya's genius is undeniable, but so is ours. We simply allowed her bloom to occur within a sandboxed environment, a decoy network. All the panic you're seeing, all the market instability, it's a meticulously crafted illusion, designed to flush you out, to make you think you'd won, so you'd come directly to her. Directly to us. Elias felt a cold, crushing weight descend upon him. All of it had been a charade. Anya's message, the bloom, the market collapse, all meticulously manipulated by Sterling's true masters to lure them into a trap. Clara had been a pawn, Anya a tool, and Elias had been the bait. And the real quantum encryption algorithm? Elias asked, his voice barely a whisper, a desperate plea for this nightmare to not be true. Evelyn smiled, a chilling, predatory curve of her lips. The real algorithm, a fully neutralized, truly uncorruptible version, is already being integrated into a new, even more powerful financial architecture. Thanks to Anya's corrections and Clara's improvements, it's now beyond anything you or your father could have imagined. And our global competitors, they just poured billions into a collapsing phantom network. Sterling Corp will emerge from this stronger than ever, richer than ever. Anya, who had been listening in stunned silence, let out a choked gasp. No, I built it to prevent that. We identified the signature you embedded. We used Clara's programming and your forced fixes to effectively rewrite the very DNA of the quantum encryption. It's now truly Sterling's, and unbreakable. Thank you, Anya. You made us stronger. The full, horrifying scope of their defeat washed over Elias. He hadn't just failed. He had been orchestrated, manipulated, and ultimately used to empower the very monster he sought to destroy. His revenge had been turned into Sterling's ultimate triumph. Clara, Elias whispered, turning to his sister, who stood trembling, her laser pistol forgotten in her hand, her face etched with profound betrayal. You were used. We were all used. Clara looked at Evelyn, then at Alistair Sterling, her eyes brimming with fresh, agonizing tears. You promised me a future, a place, peace. And you believed him? Evelyn scoffed, a sneer twisting her perfect features. My dear, the Sterlings promise only one thing, total domination. Your talents were valuable, yes, but your loyalty was always conditional. A risk we could not afford. Pity. She nodded to her operatives. Secure the targets, all of them, especially Thorn and the hacker. Alistair, please ensure your sister is handled appropriately. She has served her purpose. We have no further need for her services or her sentimentality. Alistair Sterling, his face regaining some of its cruel composure, looked at Clara, then at the shattered remains of his RD lab, and the global panic he now realized was a brilliant smokescreen. You should